The Minnesota Timberwolves are currently down 3-1 against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it seems like this series is done. Now, you can't come back from a 3-1 lead. It's happened before, but it's going to be tough as hell for Minnesota to do so. This is not the ideal game for Julius Randle, and the same with Anthony Edwards. When you look at what they were able to do in Game 3, Julius Randle came out. He was more aggressive in that encounter, and the same with Anthony Edwards. He hit a bunch of threes over and over again. But we know this with Anthony Edwards. His three-point shot is not the most consistent at times. He's become a better three-point shooter every single year in the regular season. But in certain games in the postseason, you'll say, Ant, just go to the rim on a consistent basis. And that was not the case this time around. He was not able to go out there and knock down those threes in Game 4. They made life hell on Anthony Edwards. And it's not the simple fact he was one-on-one with Shai or he was one-on-one with J-Dub. He's facing 2 to 3 defenders. So now he has to be a playmaker. And Anthony Edwards, he can facilitate the basketball, but that's not his strong suit. He wants to go to the rim, hit those three-point shots. He only had 16 points. He was 1 of 7 from 3, 5 of 13. And for the simple fact that Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein played such a great game in terms of denying him towards the rim on the back end, he didn't get that many free throw attempts. He was 5 of 7 with the free throw attempts. Rudy Gobert, he had 13 points, 9 rebounds. But we know what Rudy Gobert is. You'll live with Rudy Gobert going out there and killing you on the offensive end, because let's just be real here. Rudy Gobert is not a good offensive player. He's a very good defensive player. He'll get you big rebounds in certain moments, but you can drown him out with a big like Chet Holmgren, and the same with Isaiah Hartenstein. And I'm really going to go into deep detail of how Chet basically outplayed Rudy Gobert this entire game when I talk about the Thunder here. But Rudy Gobert, whenever you have him being a top scoring leader, you're in trouble. And that was the case at the top of the third quarter. But we started to see Nickeil Alexander-Walker. The same with Dante DiVincenzo. The bench players, they stepped up. But Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards, they didn't. Now I look at Julius Randle. This is pathetic. In Game 1, he came out. He had a strong outing. In Game 2, they benched him for majority of the second half for the right reasons here. His defense is there, but he's settling for jump shots, and he can't get to the rim on a consistent basis because of Isaiah Hartenstein and because of Chet. So now you're forcing him to settle for those jump shots at the mid-range position and with those threes. In Game 3, he took a deep three. You can get away with that when you have a huge lead. But we all know that Julius Randle is not going to be a consistent three-point shooter when you're down in games. You need to go out there and work for the easier shots. And in tonight's matchup, he was a negative on the offensive end. He only had 5 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and he was 1 of 7 from the field. 0 of 3 from 3. So when you drown out the 2 best players with the Timberwolves, you're doing your job here. You forced Dante DiVincenzo and Nickeil Alexander-Walker to step up. And I will say this about Dante DiVincenzo. He was shooting 26% from 3 entering tonight's game. He was 5 of 8 from 3. 7 of 11 from the field, 21 points. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had the 23 points. He played very good defense on Shai. But you know what happens when you get put into screen situations. And Shai, he's one of the best players in the world. You're not going to go out there and hold him to just 5 or 10 points. I know that they held him to 14 points in Game 3. That's a very rare occasion. He's an MVP for a reason. So I'm not going to come on here and blame Dante DiVincenzo and Nickeil Alexander-Walker for losing this matchup. This was more so on Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. They needed those players to step up, and they just weren't able to. And I'm very disappointed in Anthony Edwards because the game that you had in Game 3, you have to bounce back here. You do not want to go down 3-1 and then walk back into the Thunder's home. The Denver Nuggets, they forced a Game 7. They went into Game 7 in Oklahoma's house, and look at what happened. It was great to win that game at home, don't get me wrong, but you have to come back in back-to-back games and show up for your team. And Anthony Edwards, he was trying to. But he's the bigger name. He's the bigger star. He's the better player than Julius Randle. You expect for him to go out there and be more aggressive, especially early on in the first half. And that wasn't the case. I know that your teammates are eating right now, but when you need a closer, they needed him to step up. And Julius Randle, you have to lay the groundwork here. If you see Anthony Edwards facing 2 defenders, 3 defenders at a time in the zone, go out there, move around. It was so many times in this matchup to where Julius Randle, he's just sitting around. He'll set a screen. He wouldn't even roll to the basket. Rudy Gobert would set the screen and at least he'll roll to the basket. You have to get those defenders off of Anthony Edwards. And I felt like in tonight's matchup, Julius Randle, he just didn't do that. And they needed more out of their two top stars to get them over the hump. You still lost this game by 2 points, but it came down to a crucial missed free throw by Shai. Then they started fouling and they started doing things like that to end out the game. But still, if you would have just got a little more production out of one of those two players, you would have possibly won this matchup. Mike Conley, he is what he is at this point. His age is starting to show. He's definitely not the same Mike Conley when the Timberwolves first got him on this roster. And I'm not trying to blame him for this either, but he only had 6 points and 3 assists. He's not that same playmaking guard anymore. And his defense in this series has been up and down. Naz Reid had 11 points, 6 rebounds. He did the best that he could. Terrence Shannon also played a huge part in Game 3. He came off the bench. He gave them that energy, but they denied him so much at the rim. He was able to hit some tough threes last game, but you'll live with that because you know Terrence Shannon, young player, the upside is high as hell. But right now, he's not going to go out there and be that major game changer every single night for Minnesota. And Minnesota right now, they're too inconsistent against the Thunder. This is how they looked in the regular season when they were still trying to go out there and gel with each other. When they first made the trade to bring in Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo and they were dealing with injuries. This is how this team looks right now. Anthony Edwards will have an off night. Julius Randle will step up. Or both players will have an off night. Dante DiVincenzo will come out and have a good game. And the same with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And give a lot of credit to the Thunder and their smothering defense. But I look at Minnesota right now. You should at least be able to push this series to a Game 6 or to a Game 7 with the talent that you have. But I'm very disappointed right now in Julius Randle and the same with Anthony Edwards. And Julius Randle was shooting 40% from 3 since he came back from that injury in the regular season. But he hasn't been the same player against his defense. And the fact that you only gave Terrence Shannon 8 minutes says everything that you need to know about Chris Finch right now and how he feels about Terrence Shannon in those big time moments. The reason why he got so many minutes in the last matchup, you had a huge lead. So it's okay to sit down Anthony Edwards. It's okay to sit down Julius Randle and then put in Terrence Shannon. That was not the case in tonight's matchup. Minnesota, they can still make this a series, but it's going to be tough. Now, far for Oklahoma here, I have to say this about Shai. One of the best players in the world. He deserves that MVP. To score 14 points in Game 3 and to come out how he did in the first half, that's what an MVP does. He took over this game. Going against multiple defenders, finding a way to get to his spot over and over again. The two-man game with him and J-Dub was phenomenal. And this is something that's very interesting, and not too many people talk about this. Whenever Shai has a bad game, 9 times out of 10, J-Dub's going to have a bad game. Whenever Shai is getting things going, 9 times out of 10, J-Dub's going to get things going here. I know that he had the bad Game 6 against the Nuggets. He had a bad Game 3 against Minnesota. But he can step up, and when J-Dub is on fire, that is scary. Shai had 40 points. J-Dub had 34. It was a situation late in the game. Shai, he slips. Rudy Gobert's in front of him. He's double teamed. Shai kicks the ball out in between the defender's legs. He's looking up at J-Dub. And you can see Rudy Gobert, he's shaking his head because he knows it's about to go in. He hits a tough 3, similar to what happened against the Denver Nuggets. Shai was double teamed, across the court pass, goes to J-Dub from the corner. Moments like that is what I love to see, because I feel like this kid gets a lot of hate because he's not the most consistent offensive player. But I'll say this about J-Dub. In every single series that he's been in, against Memphis, against the Denver Nuggets, his defense has been there. Even in their blowout losses, his defense is still there. He's going to be one of the best players in the NBA for a very long time, and I just want to give him his flowers. I know that Shai had the 40 points. He had the 10 assists. He became the ultimate playmaker, especially in the second half by dishing the basketball off to J-Dub. But J-Dub is a huge reason to why they won this matchup. And when I look at Shai, he missed that free throw late in the game. And I'm starting to look at the TV sideways. I'm like, okay, we just saw Indiana make a huge comeback against New York because of missed free throws, but they were able to keep it together. But when I look at Shai, like I mentioned before, I can't say enough good things about him. I know that some people that call him a free throw merchant. He is just very good at getting fouls. You could say, well, he's foul baiting. Dwayne Wade did the same thing. Stephen Curry's done this. James Harden has done this. So has Trae Young. But it's the way that Shai's doing it. He's getting a lot of and ones. He's getting to the mid-range spot on Nikhil Alexander-Walker, who did the best he could against him. He's getting fadeaway shots, rolling to the rim, finishing with those tough layups. Shai is just a great player. And when you look at Chet Holmgren, whenever J-Dub and Chet Holmgren are all on the same page with Shai, it's damn near impossible to beat this basketball team. You had the bench players step up in big-time positions in tonight's game. But yet, Chet was the one to be the ultimate game changer on defense and on the offensive end. And you're starting to see this with Chet. He's starting to trust that three ball a little bit more. He was 2 of 4 from 3, but those threes are like body blows against Minnesota. Minnesota, they'll come back, they'll eat the lead down to just 5. Here comes Chet, 8-point lead. They'll go out there, they'll get a 2-pointer. Here comes Chet again, bang, another 3. Here comes Chet on the defensive end, blocking the basketball. Here comes Chet in front of Anthony Edwards, denying him. Meeting up with Rudy Gobert at the rim, meeting up with Julius Randle. He blows by his defender. And they're forcing Julius Randle to go right because he's left-handed and he just can't do it. This is what teams did against him in the playoffs when he was playing with the New York Knicks. You make him very inefficient. And whenever you settle for a jump shot against Chet, it's a good chance it's going to get blocked. Now, Anthony Edwards did hit a huge 3 over Chet, but Chet, his hand was there. And that's all you can ask for out of your 7-foot giant, is to be there on defense. And his lateral movement has gotten better. To look at Chet last year in the postseason to this year is night and day. He's a completely different player. You have Shai, who had 40, J-Dub had 34, Chet had 21. That's enough to get you over the top. And he had 7 rebounds, crucial rebounds. Lou Dort playing phenomenal defense. He hit 1 major 3. Isaiah Hartenstein only had 2 points, only had 6 rebounds. But it's the fact that you have those double bigs, they're stopping that offensive pressure over and over again by Ant, by Julius Randle. And it's helping them have that transition offense. When we look at the Pacers, so many people say they can get up and down the court. Chet can be a playmaker. It was a situation to where he lost the basketball. He dribbles behind his back. He retains possession. He finds the open man right underneath the rim. It was Alex Caruso. They walked away with the 2 points. It was a situation with Chet bring the ball down the court. He's looking for the open man. He has the ability. And I feel like a lot of people forget how good Chet was coming out of college. This man is special. He doesn't have elite handles like Kevin Durant. But for a big man, he can dribble the basketball, he can finish at the rim, and he's starting to trust his 3 ball every single game. You want him to go out there and stretch the floor with Shai. It gives him another option. And you don't need him hanging around the rim to always worry about rebounds. That's why you brought in Isaiah Hartenstein. And that was the biggest piece for Oklahoma so far that they brought in this offseason. I know they brought in Alex Caruso, great defender. Trading Josh Giddey for him was one of the best moves that this organization has made within the last few years. But getting Isaiah Hartenstein, a true center, so now Chet can play the power forward position, has helped his game out tremendously. There was a lot of situations here to where they just had Chet being the center, and he performed very well. And they did that because Rudy Gobert is not an offensive threat. He's not Jokic. He's not Joel Embiid. So they can sag off of Rudy Gobert. They don't have to worry about him every single game, going out there and killing them from 3, worrying about him scoring the basketball a lot. He's just a defensive player. It was also a situation, Shai, he's one-on-one with Rudy Gobert. He's just taking him to the rim, foul baiting him over and over again, getting those fouls against Rudy Gobert. You have Cason Wallace came in. He hit 1 3. Cason Wallace, we know what he is. Very good defender, can create his own shot off the dribble. Alex Caruso had 10 points. 4 of 7 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. That's the Alex Caruso role on the offensive end. You get a bunch of backdoor cuts, finish at the rim. Alex Caruso is known for this. His defense on the perimeter. One of the best perimeter defenders that we have seen within the last 5 years. He could put you in a chair for the entire night. He's made life hell on players like Jaden McDaniels. The same with Nikhil Alexander-Walker, and especially with Anthony Edwards. They just have the versatility right now that the Timberwolves don't have. And the Timberwolves are a great defensive team. This is how great Oklahoma is this year. And I do believe that this year is their year to win it all. This is the best chance that you have. Even if they go against the Pacers or the Knicks, they just have so many versatile defenders that are going to give you problems inside the paint and on the perimeter. You have Lou Dort, Shai, J-Dub, Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace. They can all go out there and give you very good defensive moments over and over again, and they just wear you out. And that's the one thing with Oklahoma. They wear you out on the defensive end. So on the offensive end, you're not the same. And they just keep going at you over and over again. It didn't work out in game 3. And look, some of the best teams in NBA history, they've had bad games. That is not who Oklahoma is. Oklahoma is a great team. They're the best team in basketball right now, and they deserve their respect. Shout out to their coach for going out there and developing this team within the last few years. But I do believe that they'll win the next game at home. And you guys know me. I love Minnesota. Huge Anthony Edwards fan. I believe that he's going to go down as an all-time great with that organization. But right now, this is the best team, and they're red hot. Minnesota could make this a game 6 or a game 7, but I believe Oklahoma, they're just too good. And with how Shai performed tonight coming off of a bad game, this is what you wanted to see. And the fact they went against the Denver Nuggets with Jamal Murray, MPJ, Nikola Jokic, they went to a game 7 with that championship roster. It's pretty much shown everything for Oklahoma and what they need to do going forward. In every series, they've grown against the Thunder. Even though they swept them, they had some moments that made you scratch your head and say, okay, are they going to blow this game? And they did. They go against the Denver Nuggets. They had problems closing out certain games, like I mentioned before with J-Dub in game 6. He bounces back in game 7. They blow out the Denver Nuggets in game 7. They come out against the Timberwolves. They win game 1. They win game 2. Game 3, they get blown out. They come back. They make the right adjustments. They keep the game close, but they won the matchup in game 4. Now you're playing with house money. Get this series over with as soon as possible if you're Oklahoma. Personally, I don't want to see that happen. I want to see a lot of basketball moving forward. But it's inevitable at this point, it seems like. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about the Thunder and how do you feel about the Timberwolves after game 4? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.